The Fall of Marie Antoinette. As we leave behind the clatter of servants' pails and the sigh of their weary footsteps, let us turn our attention to the woman whose name is forever tied to Versailles and to its eventual decline. Marie Antoinette. Imagine, if you will, the shifting light of the late 18th century. The gilded halls of Versailles still shone, but their brilliance was beginning to feel less like the radiance of glory and more like the glare of excess. The Bourbon monarchy, which had once embodied stability, was now struggling beneath the weight of debt, discontent, and the whisper of revolution carried on the wind. Marie Antoinette was not, in truth, the central cause of France's troubles, yet in the minds of many, she became their symbol. She was the glittering queen who seemed detached from the hunger of her people. She was the Austrian-born outsider whose every action was scrutinized and transformed into gossip. Her days at Versailles were filled with a careful balance of ceremony and retreat. In public, she enacted the elaborate rituals of the royal household, rituals designed to reinforce the majesty of the crown. In private, she sought refuge in the gardens, in music, and in the company of a few trusted friends. The queen, who often longed for simplicity, built a retreat known as the Petit Trianon, where she would stroll in pastoral dress, tending goats, or playing at shepherdess. For her, it was a respite. For her critics, it was an insult. By the 1780s, pamphlets cheaply printed and widely distributed spread accusations against her with remarkable speed. Some were absurd, others cruel, but all were effective in shaping her image as frivolous and wasteful. The infamous phrase, "let them eat cake," though never truly spoken by her, clung to her reputation like a stain. It was not so much her actions, but the stories about her, that eroded public trust. Meanwhile, the financial state of France worsened. The cost of supporting wars abroad, coupled with years of poor harvests, left the treasury strained. Bread, the staple of life for most French families, grew scarce and expensive. In Paris and beyond, hunger gnawed at the stomachs of the poor, while in Versailles, feasts and celebrations seemed to continue, insulated from the hardship outside the gates. The revolution, when it came, moved swiftly. In October 1789, a mob of Parisian women, driven by hunger, anger, and desperation, marched to Versailles. Their cries were not abstract demands for political reform. They were pleas for bread, for sustenance, for survival. The palace that had been built as a fortress of royal magnificence suddenly trembled before the voices of the people. Marie Antoinette, confronted by the crowd, appeared on the balcony. Accounts vary of her reception. Some claim she was met with hostility, others that her composure earned a moment of respect. But the message was clear. Versailles was no longer secure. The royal family was taken from Versailles to Paris, never to return. The gilded walls that had once symbolized distance from the people now stood empty, their rituals disrupted. Marie Antoinette's life would continue, but always under the shadow of suspicion, until her final days. Beneath the blade of the guillotine in 1793, her fall was not simply the story of a queen. It was the story of a society unraveling, of myth colliding with hunger, of grandeur meeting the unforgiving reality of revolution.